Buenas tardes a todos y a todos.
Good afternoon. The session that I have the honor to chair has already started yesterday with a presentation made by the Minister of Ecuador, who left with us several significant messages, of which I would like to quote two as an introduction to this panel. And I quote, "Poverty is the main enemy. Poverty is not a personal choice, but the foreseeable result of unequal, unsustainable development models. Inadequate development models generate inequality, vulnerability, and as a consequence, they increase the levels of risk of a society." End of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce the panel Inequality and its impact on the resilience of societies. The general objective of the session is to get to know the progress, challenges, and recommendations about the topics discussed in the session that can be included within the International Framework for Risk Reduction post-2015. We are joined for this session by Mr. Edson Romo, Vice Minister of the Social Sectors of Ecuador, Alfonso Munera, General Secretary of the Association of Caribbean States, Into John Abraham, representative from the World Bank in Ecuador, Jack Radish, Project Manager of OECD of the High Level Forum. I would like to welcome all of you to this session. I would like, of course, to welcome the panels, the members of the panel, for their participation. We are going to have 10-minute long presentations, and after that we will draw some conclusions. We will begin, and I would like to give the floor to Mr. Edson Romo, Vice Minister of the Social Sectors of Ecuador. Welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon, I'm sorry. I would like, first of all, to convey you warm greetings from Minister Cecilia Vaca, Coordinating Minister of Social Development. Unfortunately, she could not join us in this panel, which would have been very interesting because precisely as a way of reducing inequalities in the region, we are inaugurating with Uruguay the strategy Uruguay Without Barriers, which is all the work that we have carried out in Ecuador through the Solidarity Mission Manuela Espejo, which is to restitute all of the rights to our disabled citizens, fellow citizens. I would like to begin by telling you how we have set our presentation, and we are going to have to rush through it because of the 10-minute time limit. First of all, there is a conceptual framework that I would like to share with you, even though I'm sure that I'm facing experts, and then we will see which has been the mechanism for articulation and linkage of public policies to work on reducing social vulnerability, some of the achievements of the social frontline, and then I would like to share with you a case study precisely from the city of Guayaquil for those citizens of Guayaquil who are with us present today, and it is an emblematic case study, which is that of Monte Sinai. I would like to begin by sharing with you the definition of risk, or the elements that make up risks, threats, and social vulnerability. which allows us to work around social vulnerability. What allows us to work around social vulnerability? Exposition, fragility, and lack of resilience. And this is directly linked to the capacities of societies that have allowed us to work with people, families, communities to tackle adverse situations. The strategies that are implemented for this action have allowed us to generate mechanisms of adaptation in order to overcome internal and external resources. In this context, poverty is an indicator of vulnerability, which is closely linked to the lack of resources, and thus those in a condition of poverty are generally exposed to the greatest risk. One of the fundamental issues that the Ecuadorian government has brought about with the management, the administration of Mr. Rafael Correa Delgado, is basically a different concept, a different way of seeing how we work. We have coordinating ministries that coordinate the actions of several ministries. For us, it has been extremely fundamental to build these different capacities of internal and external resources through strategic lines, such as the line of human talent, building the social fabric, financial resources, physical resources, and natural resources. These first four are coordinated directly by the Social Development Council, which is made up of the Ministry of Public Health, Sports, Urban Development and Housing, the Ministry of Social and Economic Inclusion, and the Vice Ministry of Human Mobility. These have been set out under four axes of intersectoral public policy that agglutinate all of the public policy management of these executing ministries. And that is how we have set out four fundamental axes like network, access and territory, quality of services, especially social prevention and promotion, and one that's fundamental for us, which is that of recreation and enjoyment of free time. Along these lines, the building of this process has allowed us to start reducing social vulnerability at the national level within the framework of this management and social cohesion. This has been basic and fundamental because in the Council of Social Development, we are defining the types of investment at the national and territorial level. And the fundamental idea of a coordinating ministry is this linkage of intersectoral public policy guaranteeing the fact that it's linked both at the national and territorial level of the service suppliers from the executive.
A continuación, vamos a plantearles.
We will now put forth some achievements that we have generated in the country.
2016 y el 2013 tenemos una, yo diría un incremento.
Between 2006 and 2013, we can see access of services, of health services to families. In 2006, we had around 16,000 people attended in health services, and we can see that in 2013 that's gone beyond 38,000. That is overcoming any planning expectation.
También hemos construido.
We've also built another, and we've generated a lot of confidence and trust in the public institutionality to such an extent that we have had to build and generate programs for the Ministry of Sports to massify sports within this educational system, incorporating 1 hour of physical education a day in all the cities and in all the schools, and even with programs that go along with the Exercise Ecuador, which has helped us generate a construction of social fabric around the healthy habits notions. One of the other important things that we have been doing on a national level within the reduction of vulnerability, social vulnerability, has to do with education. Not only do we have infrastructure matters and works, but perhaps you will hear from the minister about the goals for the millennium and how their perspectives are for boys and girls of Ecuador in this regard, but also the increment of the students in the public system. In 2006, we had about 16,000, 2,800,000 students, and we've gone beyond 3 million students in the public system of education, with an increase of 735,000 students who are more in the public schools. And from the beginning of the government, we've had to set up camp schools because we have surpassed the estimated projection of the people in the of what we had estimated for the public system. It is also important to mention it, and that in the process of establishing the public system of education, the units have been built and generated around a thought of articulation of social development as secure and safe places for the community that generate several actions in the territory. And the other thing that is fundamental is that we have propitiated a harmonious coexistence, and we have generated between 2000 up to 2013, we have given housing bonuses, coupons, and we have had about 25,243 given out, and due to the natural disasters and problems of human settlements that have been very irregular in territories such as Guayaquil, for example. It is important to mention that around all the social program, we have submitted and we have identified about 231 irregular human settlements identified on a national level, and we have also checked alerts to squatter communities, and we have received early warnings to halt the squatter activities and generated other conditions for the population. One of the important cases is the one that I have commented on, the Sinai. It is very important, the change, and we used to have territories that were invaded or squattered and settlements in very infrahuman conditions, and the most dire conditions under which a person can live, poor indigent conditions, and also it was defined as the and where we decided to work on this territory to generate other conditions of living. And probably Ecuadorians here will not allow me to lie, and we have given out these coupons, and we have set up educational centers, health centers, basic hospitals, and we are just finishing a hospital of 400 beds to guarantee the quality of life of citizens who are in this territory, in addition to incorporating strategies for full childhood. And this is one of the things that we have, is to provide here special conditions. And to conclude, part of the reduction of social vulnerability has been attention to priority care groups. We have finished 230,000 pensions, and also the 560,000 pensions that the retired people are also already receiving. So we're getting people out of poverty. One of the important things that we were doing is that we're working on breaking the circles of poverty, and we have acted to in the last 2013. We have gotten out of poverty about 50% of the population out of extreme poverty, and basically what we have used as a scheme to work is the capacity building and strengthening of competencies. Thank you very much.